right. It's First and 10 with Degen. I'm back. We're, about 24 hours from kickoff on Saturday, so I figure I better get my college football preview out because things have been going very well, and a lot of people seem to be finding this show every Friday, which is good because the college football content out there, let me tell you a little secret, it fucking sucks. And so I'm trying to fix that by offering a little bit of entertainment, but more than that, some useful knowledge. What's up, new guy? I'm the Degenerate 75. I'm a high-limit DFS player who focuses on golf and football, and specifically NFL and college football, but today we're on college football. You see this big-ass schedule above me? That's my schedule. If you like the cut of my jib, come check out my shit. I do this all the time. I do the Showdown Hoedown for golf and NFL. I do this Friday night college football show, although it's Friday day, and of course, I do the Final Thoughts for NFL. So come check it out. But without further ado, let's get going, you motherfather. Looking back at last week, we're going to talk a little. We always talk betting, and then we talk DFS. New guy, learn to flow with the show. I don't got time to explain this shit. All right, here we go. Last week, another winning week, but not as good as it could have been. Fucking Auburn comes back and backdoors a push. So that one, I got it at 14. Some had it at 14.5. So I guess you could have lost that one, but I got to push my Sooners. I got to quit betting my Sooners because I'm getting them. I guess I got them right at the OU Texas game because I knew they were going to get obliterated, but they came out and played. I'm done betting OU this year. I when they got their quarterback, you never know what flaky ass team you're going to get. So lost that one, pushed here, but the Michigan was an easy cover. Tennessee, which I loved, covered. Florida did not cover. My betting against LSU every week is starting to fail. So that's 2-2-1, and then Utah did cover against USC. Loved that game because Lincoln Riley's a bitch. So there you go. 3-2-1 last week, up 9 games over 500 for the season, 5-1 in my heavy better games. Didn't have any last week, just played all the games I like. So there you go. If you want to see what are we betting this week, well, let's see. What's the big guy betting? Oh, I've got the wrong thing up. Fucking awesome. Let's see here. Game total Saturday. There we go. Look at me being prepared on my own fucking show. All right, let's see. I need the F counter for this show. I have it for my live stream where I have to give money every time I say the F-bomb, but you don't get one, okay? Because this is college football and we cuss a little bit. So here is the schedule for tomorrow. Some games that I like. Let's drop this down to 75%. It's hard to see all this. Some games I'm definitely betting. I feel like this Clemson-Syracuse games, I get it. Syracuse is undefeated. I get it. They're playing tough. They run the ball. They take care of it. They play solid defense. But damn, man, if you lined up like the 20 best players in this game, I bet 18 of them play for Clemson. So Clemson at home, I just feel like they can cover 2 touchdowns. I'm not buying this Syracuse hype. I get it. They're a tough team. But, man, like just at some point you just got to, like, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And Clemson's got all the Jimmies and Joes, let me tell you. Here's you ready? You ready to have your mind blown? Here, shout out to my man Nick. I am betting LSU this week. I am finally on the LSU train. They're at home. They're playing undefeated Mississippi. I just feel like this is a total trap spot for Ole Miss. I feel like LSU is surprisingly decent. Brian Kelly has done way better with that program this first year than I would have ever thought. And so because of that, I think I'm going to have to bet me some I think I'm going to have to bet me some Tigers, which if you know my brand, I basically just bet against LSU and A&M every week, and it tends to work out for me. But I just hate this spot for Ole Miss. Give me LSU. I wish it was under the lights, and then it would be a smash spot because LSU don't lose big games under the lights, but it's at 2:30, so it's not. I also like this game, Oklahoma State. I'm 4-0 on Oklahoma State this year. I nail them every single time. This line reeks to high hell. I don't get why Texas is nearly a touchdown favorite against Oklahoma State. They're about the same team. Texas probably has more talent, but Quinn Ewers isn't near as good of a quarterback as Spencer Sanders. Give me the better quarterback. Give him to me at home. Oklahoma State coming off a tough loss. This just reeks of a game that they're going to win heads up. I would actually encourage you to go look at a money line bet because you're probably getting, plus 250 on that? I would take plus 250 on a money line Oklahoma State. And then the last one, I don't love a lot of games this week, but the other one, if you can't tell, I live in Big 12 country because I definitely have a bias towards betting these Big 12 games, right? I really like TCU at home. They're undefeated. They are 3.5-point favorites. That line stinks to high hell, right? Why is Kansas State only a 3.5-point dog to undefeated TCU at home? And here's the answer. TCU is a sheep in wolf clothing, right? They're not as good as everyone thinks they are. And K-State is notorious for coming in and just grinding these teams down. I have a very strong conviction that K-State will not only cover against TCU, I bet they beat them, right? So if you can't tell, I'm kind of shitting on undefeated teams this week. Goodbye, Syracuse. Goodbye, Ole Miss. Goodbye, TCU. Maybe we'll be wrong, but I got to tell you, the college betting has been strong so far this year. So we're going to keep it up. So there's the betting card. If you're interested, if you're following along with me this year, you're definitely up. You're definitely up. Not that I bet on games, because in the great state of Oklahoma, you cannot bet on college football games. So I don't bet on these games. But if I did bet on these games, I would definitely be up for the year. But I don't. I don't bet on them. Just authorities. I don't bet on these games. But if I did, I'd be up. But I'm not. I don't. But I would be up if I did. Okay. Let's get to a little DraftKings, you motherfathers. So here we go. Contest selection. If you don't know, new guy, contest selection is a great place to start on why you always lose at DFS. You're like, man, I know this college football really well. I watch all them games. How come I always lose? Well, probably the first part is you're just picking stupid fucking contests. That's probably your first problem. You're playing in the lottos. And so, like, let me help you out a little bit. First of all, shout out to DraftKings for doing a $250,000 one last week. And it fills. And so what do they do this week? They say, fuck it. Let's just do a $200,000 main event. Why? Why? Because NBA's back? You're scared people don't love college football? The people that are playing college football DFS don't care about NBA 99% of the time. So get the fuck out of here, DraftKings. And so now you have $50,000 to first. That's 25% of the prize pool to first. And that just kills the whole payout. So now instead of 10th place being $2,000 like it was last week, now it's $750, which is only 167th to first. That is disgusting. These are the kind of tournaments you got to stay away from because of the poor price structure. It's basically you get top three or it's like a bust, right? Like it's just not worth it to play in these. And so it just makes me mad when they take this prize pool from $250,000 down to $200K. It just kills the nice payout structure. So if you hit a really good lineup, you're not rewarded for it. Basically, you got to hit the nuts, and I hate that. Same thing with the 333, a third of the money to first. My New Year's resolution, I do not play in tournaments where more than 25% goes to first place, so get the fuck out of here with that. Get out of here. Let's see. Let's get down to some good tournaments, right? I keep dumping on all of these. Go check out this one. Look at this. $25,000 prize pool, $2,500 to first. That's where it should be, 10%. And then go look at 10th place. That's 10% of first place. Boom, boom, check, check. It's a $4 entry, 20 max. So now if you're comfortable playing $80 a week, go put 20 lineups in this $4, and you are playing the same amount of lineups as everybody else. So you're not playing pros that are playing 150 lineups versus your 20. So you're playing the same number of lineups. If you like to play a little higher stakes and want a better payout structure, go check out the $44 contest. 25% to first, not great, but also not horrific, right? And then if you're just one of those guys that likes to make a single lineup, you really should be checking out single entries, right? You can never go wrong with single entries. This $6 down here, 2K to first. I don't like that it's actually, wait, this is a 10K, so this is only 20% to first. This is a good one too if you want a mini one. You got to quit thinking when you play GPPs. That's guaranteed prize pool. That's the big tournaments, new guy. You got to quit thinking, I got to win $50,000. You're not going to win $50,000. So be happy trying to get nice, solid hits. If you get $2,000 and you put $6 in, you're going to be dancing in the streets naked. Don't lie to me, new guy. Don't lie. You got to start thinking about like having nice hits instead of always chasing the lotteries. And that's why you're always losing. And that's why you're always having to re-enter, because you're trying to go chase these lottery tickets that if you're lucky, you'll hit once in your lifetime. And when you're putting 3-4 lineups in there every week, you're just burning through $45-$60 at a time in the big $20, right? Well, I guess it's $20 this week, so it'd be $60 or $80. So there you go. There's my advice for you. That's contest selection, and it's really important. Matter of fact, I would encourage you to play more cash, because as I'm going to tell you in a second, the softest DFS out there is college football cash game. I'm telling you. I'm what? 12 of 16. We'll talk about it in a minute. Hey, while you're here, new guy, if you've watched this long, you got to like the cut of my jib. Go drop a like and a subscribe. You can't help but notice we're almost to 1,700 subscribers. Channel's only like not even 6 months old, so we're growing real quick. I would not mind a like and a subscribe. You can't help but notice there's no ads on here because I'm not a fucking poor, and all I ask in return is a like and a subscribe. Thanks, brother. Let's talk a little bit about my week last week. I am telling you, there is something to be said about college football cash game, right? I just go enter all the double ups I can. Play, I like to do head-to-heads, but the problem is I have such a huge Discord that all my head-to-heads end up being against the people that are following, my Rosetta Stone. So I'm getting more into double-ups. You can see, like, I just do one lineup. I put it in $600 in contest, and I got back $1,200 with my cash lineup, right? Or just under $1,200. It's a very, very simple process. You just go pick guys who are in high volume games, who are usage monsters, and then you just let it play out. Sometimes, you get unlucky. The one time I've lost in the last 8 weeks, or in the last 8 slates, I should say, was the week that Bryce Young, Dylan Gabriel, and Brock from Iowa State all died in the first quarter. Other than that, I've literally hit 7 in a row. I'm not going to count that week. So I will. Okay, so 7 of the last 8. So cash was very good. As you can see, I had a real nice sweat going into Saturday, or late into Saturday afternoon. I had accidentally double entered the same lineup, I guess, because I got that news that broke late about Tillman being out. So I was like spamming Hyatt into a bunch of my lineups from Tennessee. This one actually had a Jefferson Landers stack with Nakua, so it was really rising up fast. Problem was, I had Hyatt and Hooker stacks in a ton of lineups, but not in this lineup. So this one actually ended up falling, even though I thought this was my real one to win. So we had a good sweat. Still ended up very nice week. Like if you're doubling your money in a GPP, nothing wrong with that because the price structure tends to be pretty terrible in those. And then, like you clean up at cash. And the key is you win so much at cash that it covers your GPP so that you're free rolling. That's the best way to do it. Get to where you can consistently win at cash and then just do GPPs that are less than the number that you're involved in cash. So if you hit your cash lineup, all of your GPPs are a free roll. That's how you do it, right? And I just want to take a second to brag because this is called the Rosetta Stone. This is what I give to my Discord over there. And I tell them, here's the games to targets. Here's some sneaky shootout games. Here's your cash plays. Here's your high upside plays. Like who was the nuts? I told everybody, you must play Jamar Gibbs in your cash lineup last week. If you don't play him, you're a donkey dick. And so you go play him, right? That's very simple. You go put him in your cash lineup. And then I said, hey, make sure you get Puka Nakua in there to get you some price savings. 4,600. See how he's labeled as the cash color? You get him in there. And then if you're like, well, what about GPPs? Well, I go give him the high upside guys. Blake Corum is a high upside guy, and he's going to be moderate ownership, right? And so you can use this. And if you don't have time to break down this stuff and be a sweaty bastard like I am that just sits here and looks all this stuff up and researches it, well, then you just go use this. Hey, you want to play Hooker and Hyatt? I wouldn't play them in a cash lineup, but I think they're a great GPP stack because they're both high upside, and then you run it back with Gibbs. And that would have been a nuts play, right? That would have been a nuts play. You're like, well, what about this Arkansas BYU game you like so much? All right, well, go play Puka Nakua and then run it back with Jefferson and stack him with Landers. Boom, right there. They're all on the Rosetta Stone, and I do it for all the games, both FanDuel and DraftKings. This is the Rosetta Stone. If you're interested in it, just come check out the old Discord, which is connected through my Patreon right here. The college football, I'm telling you, that and PGA Showdown is the softest DFS out there. There's too many fucking sharks in the DFS waters. You need to avoid those guys. They're sharp. They know this stuff too. So let's play the two places where they don't play. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this slate this week. This is the version you get. You're like, hey, why ain't mine all pretty and colored? Because this is YouTube, okay? I'm not gonna. You don't get all that. I am giving you the touches and the receptions and the targets and all that, but you don't get all the conditional formatting and the color coding. That'll be later for my mother fathers on the Discord. You're welcome to come join. All right, games to target. All right, first of all, new guy, you need to know this. What we want to see is we want to see games with high totals. We want to see games with competitive lines. A competitive line being like not a huge favorite versus a fucking slapdick. And then we also want to see usage monsters, right? There's some teams out there that'll score a lot of points, but they have so many dudes that they spread the ball around to, it's not very useful. This is why I liked Arkansas so much last week, right? Because they basically only have 4 guys that ever touch the ball. So if you know they're going to score 52 points, go play all the Razorbacks you can play because they just don't spread the ball around. Whereas a team like Wake Forest, yes, they score just as many points, if not more than Arkansas, but their usage is spread out to like 10 guys. So trying to guess who's the right guys is a pain in the ass. So the holy trinity we're looking for when we're trying to select good games to attack for college football is high totals, competitive lines, and usage, and teams with concentrated usage. There's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so this first game, KU, you got to worry about KU. If you don't know, Jalen Daniels is still going to be out, so Bean's going to be starting. Devin Neal really has seemed to kind of take over the backfield, so he's legitimate. But like a 24-point team total isn't very high at college football. Baylor traditionally is very good against the run. Baylor has a 34-point total. I could actually see Baylor beating the brakes off of Kansas. In that case, you probably want to look at their 2 running backs. I think Shapen just doesn't have enough upside to really justify a $6,900 price tag. But if you think that Baylor's going to just be running the ball down Kansas's throat, which I think is a very viable thing, Richard Reese has kind of taken over the starter spot. But if you want to punt, Quaylen Jones there at 3,000 is very viable. This Clemson-Syracuse games, these are the kind of games that you typically want to stay away from for DFS because Syracuse, first of all, they don't have a great offense. They're very, very vanilla, right? And then you've got Clemson, who has a very good defense, and they just have better players. So there is a very good chance this game's going to be something like 35-3. And you say, oh, well, 35-3. All right, well, if that's the case, I don't want to play any Syracuse guys, even though Sean Tucker is an absolute usage monster. I had him in the cash lineup last week. But Clemson, you say, all right, well, if they're going to score 35 points, I want to go play them. But here's the problem with Clemson. Like, they just kind of get it done pretty bland. I would say Shipley is probably the best option, but like even there, they rotate the running back a lot. They just don't have a very efficient offense. And so they could get the 35 points, and really none of those guys have huge upside to go get you a 30 burger or a 40 burger, which you need in your college. You basically need everybody to get 25 or 30 points in your lineup to really smash a GPP. So these are the kind of games I'm trying to avoid. Same thing right here with Iowa and Ohio State, right? Iowa, if you're playing a team with a 9.5 team total, you don't get how college football DFS works. I put Laporta on there just simply if you want to run an Ohio State stack and you want to run it back with an Iowa guy. That's literally the only reason I put him on there. Stay the hell away from the Hawkeyes. You're welcome, new guy. Here's the problem with OSU. Yes, they are awesome. They have probably the best offense in the country, and their guys are getting their points. But here is the problem: I just feel like in a blowout they call the dogs off. So you need Stroud, Abuka, Harrison, Travion Henderson. You need all those guys to be super efficient because they're probably all going to be out of the game by the mid-third quarter. So, like, yes, you'll probably look and say, oh, my God, C.J. Stroud has 35 points in the third quarter. He broke the slate. But when he's done in the third quarter, he didn't really break the slate, right? 35 points from a $9,200 guy is not a slate breaker. It's a good day, but it's not a slate breaker. And so I really don't like to play these expensive studs when there's no chance they're going to get pushed. This is why I liked Gibbs so much last week from Alabama, is because he is a stud, he is a usage monster, and he was going to be playing in a competitive environment where I knew he was going to get 4 quarters of work versus Tennessee. I would say very, very little chance that Ohio State gets 4 quarters of run against Iowa. At home, they're going to murder them. And these guys will rack up a lot of points, but do they have enough upside to go win you a GPP? I don't think so. And you're thinking, well, I'll just go put them in my cash lineups. Well, this is a very common misconception about college football cash. Everybody says, I just want these guys with high floors. But that's like such a noob-ass way of thinking about it. When you're making a cash lineup, you want guys with high floors, but you also need guys with very high ceilings because you need 2 or 3 guys to go off in your cash lineup to still cash because everybody's basically just playing the good plays. And when there's no punts, people aren't taking on, zeros and 2.1 totals from guys. So you got to have guys with high ceilings and high floors. You got to have them both. Cincinnati SMU, this is probably one of those sneaky shootout games. Problem is everybody from Cincinnati is priced up pretty fairly. There's just no real bargains over there. And then SMU, same problem. They don't run the ball enough. And then their wide receivers, they basically just throw to Rice and then nobody else. Rashee Rice. Goffney seems like a good punt, but I mean, whatever. If you want to play that, even though this is a competitive total, and even though this is a decently high scoring total, I just don't like this game because of the usage. And so, this is a game I'm staying away from, but there are some pieces to go get. If you want to go play a one-off Rice, you can probably get there. Mordecai just doesn't run enough for me to want to get there. He doesn't. At that price tag, he would need to be like 5,600 for me to be interested in him. UNLV, if you play anybody from UNLV against Notre Dame's defense, good luck to you, brother. I mean, UNLV, you're going to go look at the players' little game logs and be like, ooh, they got some good players that score a lot of points. They have good players that score a lot of points against crappy teams. Notre Dame's a legit team. I mean, I know they suck this year, but they still got legit players. So they're probably just going to completely suffocate them. This is going to be like one of those 38-10 type games, right? And so because of that, Notre Dame, they're so bad at offense. I think Mayer is still probably a little too cheap for how talented he is. But, what's his upside as a tight end in a blowout game? I would think the running backs, Diggs or Estime, is probably the best bets here for Notre Dame. But once again, they have a 3-headed horse there at Notre Dame. Do you really want to try to pick who's going to be the right one? I don't. I just think there's way better options. If you want to get cute and try to hit the lottery on the Notre Dame running backs, go ahead. West Virginia, Texas Tech. This is it. I'm telling you, I live in Big 12 country. This has shootout written all over it, right? West Virginia has a decently solid offense this year. Problem is, they're one of those teams that spreads their usage a ton, right? And all their guys, they don't really have any pump prices. To me, what's really interesting is Texas Tech. A 36-point team total. They're playing at home where they notoriously do tremendous offensively at home. But who are they going to start? It's still not clear if they're starting Morton or Smith, right? Donovan Smith was hurt. He was out for the Oklahoma State game. Morton came in, played like a beast, but now he's priced up. But even at 6,800, I don't care if he's a freshman. The guy's unbelievable. He has some really good targets. The one nice thing I can say about Texas Tech is their running back options are their wide receiver options are very fairly priced. So a Morton stack here, I think makes a lot of sense. But watch that news, right? Watch that news because it could be Donovan Smith starting. We're still waiting on news. It might be one of those things we have to wait till Saturday morning to find out. Their running backs, Taj Brook is not a bad punt, but the problem is it seems like him and Thompson have kind of gotten into a timeshare. All right, this one, Ole Miss LSU. If this doesn't have Shootout City written all over it, I don't know what does. Ole Miss's offense has been impeccable this year. Jackson Dart somehow isn't that great of a fantasy score, even though their offense is awesome, probably because so much of it goes through Evans and Judkins. But the problem is both those guys are pretty fairly priced, and it's almost a legit 50-50 timeshare. You can see the rushes per game, one's 14, one's 17 per game. So that's very even. And then you see Zach Evans is getting about one more target a game than him. So it's, they're both getting roughly about 16 to 18 touches a game. That's a true 50-50, and I don't like to play 50-50 guys at that price. But in this game environment, maybe it gets there. Their wide receiver options, Mingo, Heath, very, very live. For those price tags, I'd want to see more targets, but maybe some of that's just a blowout narrative. If they're in a competitive game, maybe we'll see those targets go up. I think Jaden Daniels, is about as automatic as it comes. He's actually been really good this year, DFS wise. He runs the ball. He passes a lot. He passes efficiently enough this year. And with a 35-point team total in a competitive environment, Jaden Daniels is somebody that you got to be looking to play. Problem is, he's not the easiest guy to stack because they don't have very concentrated usage of their receivers. I would say Neighbors and Booties are probably the best. Josh Williams is a nice punt at running back. If you want to, if you need to get that cheap guy in your lineup to fit all the studs, check out Josh Williams. Although he is in a timeshare at 3,000, he doesn't have to do a lot to get there. But LSU is a team that I would be looking to attack with a 35-point team total. Here's another one of those games you really want to be attacking. Oregon versus UCLA. We have a huge total here, right? Over 70-point total. We have a competitive 6.5 or just a 6-point total on the line. And for UCLA, we have usage monsters. If you don't know, Zach Charbonnet is an absolute usage monster. The fact that he's at 6,700 just shows me DraftKings isn't paying attention. The guy gets there every week. He's incredible. DTR. That's what we're going to call him right here, right? 7,900. Just too fair of a price for a team with a 33-point team total. He runs the ball. He passes the ball. I will tell you, UCLA's biggest deterrent is if you want to stack DTR, you got to stack him with one of his receivers, and neither of them are that appealing, and they're honestly priced too high for what they produce. I would actually think a DTR Charbonnet stack and run it back with some Oregon guys would probably be the best play, right? Just fuck the receivers is what I would say. Over for Oregon, if you want to pay $9,300 for Bo Nix, who's having a good year for Oregon, you go ahead. But, it's Bo Nix. I just can't get over the fact that Bo Nix sucks. I truly believe that. They do have some nice receiver options, but once again, Oregon's one of those teams that spreads it out. That makes this game very, very hard to attack because you want to stack it, run 2 UCLA guys this week, run it back with 3 Oregon Ducks. That's very viable in a GPP. But trying to pick the right Oregon Ducks, I would say you'd have to dedicate at least 5 to 10 lineups just to that stack and mix and match the different Ducks and the different Bruins in that game. And that gets tough. It ends up eating a lot of your lineup capital whenever you do that. So that's a problem there. I'm not going to say I love every game, but here's another game I love. Matter of fact, this is probably the last game I'll say I love. UT and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State will score more than 27 points. I'll tell you that right now. Spencer Sanders is playing tremendous this year. He has such a safe floor with his legs. He's actually passing the ball super efficiently. Dominic Richardson, down to 6,500, is a usage monster. 18 carries a game, 3 targets through the air. You're probably expecting 20 touches. He's a lot better player at home than he is on the road. The problem with Oklahoma State is which receiver, which random roulette receiver is it going to be? As you can see, they spread the ball around very, very fairly. They have a bunch of good receivers, so it's not clear. And all of them are fairly priced based on the number of targets that they get. I think Texas is a little bit easier, right? You got Quinn Ewers, who it looks like is not spelled correctly. Let's see. Let's go add another N and see if that gets us there. See if it autofills for us. Boom. Nope. I don't even know how to spell it. So Bijan is probably the best play here, right? I know 9,400 is a lot to eat, but if you like some of those other punts, I feel like Bijan in a competitive environment, they tend to run him out more. You do have to worry about Roshan Johnson getting in there. He's taking about 25 to 30% of the snaps, but I think in a competitive game when Texas really needs it, they're going to rely on Bijan. Xavier Worthy at 6,100 is just too cheap for a team with a 35-point total. He's their clear number 1 receiver. If you do want to stack Ewers, who I believe is very affordable, even though my autofill is not filling in right now, I think that Whittingham and Sanders are also guys you can comfortably stack him with and just kind of rotate those guys. And then Spencer Sanders and Dominic Richardson are tremendous run backs, and if you want to punt with one of these Oklahoma State receivers, I get that too, brother. Wake Forest, BC, man, BC's guys are really cheap, which is nice, but a 20-point total, you just don't want to be attacking that. And Wake Forest is one of those great examples of a tremendous offense. They're going to score at least 42 points tomorrow, I bet. And Sam Hartman's probably going to go off. But here's the problem. Who do you pair him with? I mean, Perry gets the most targets, but at 7,400, I want more than 8 targets a game, right? And they just seem to be on a pretty equal rotation between all their wide receivers. Perry plays about 80%, but the rest of them kind of just play equal. And then there's also just the chance that Ellison and Turner just come in, and with the lead, they're just running the ball. And if they score 2 or 3 touchdowns, that takes all the equity away from Sam Hartman in the passing game. So this game right here makes me nervous, even though it has a pretty decent total at 61, right? Purdue, Wisconsin, this is kind of one of those Big Ten slog games, but I think both these running backs in this environment are very viable. You could probably, Charlie Jones has been cooling down. I think he's probably getting worn down being a little dude, getting hit a million times a game. And Wisconsin always has decent wide receivers because they basically only ever run 2 guys on the field. But to me, the play is Mockabee and Allen in this game. I'd say, Braylon Allen, I think Wisconsin finally realized, why are we not giving this guy the ball 25 times a game? Now that they're doing that, they're at home. You got to imagine they can move the ball on Purdue. He seems like a great play. Over here to Memphis Tulane. This game right here, it would seem good as a sneaky game, right? You got 2 teams with decent totals. It's a non-Power 5 game, so a lot of these guys are going to go criminally under own just because people are like, I ain't playing them stupid teams. Tulane, but like a lot of times that's really noob thinking. I'll tell you right now, the problem with these teams is they have so many different people that get the ball. I think Hennigan is a viable play at quarterback and Asa Martin, but if you try to pick the Memphis wide receivers, you go ahead. If you know something I don't, you go right ahead. But I don't think Hennigan is stackable. I think he's a guy you just throw in there naked and hope he has 30 points and spreads it over to 8 receivers, right? On the flip side, Michael Pratt has been solid this year. He runs 6 times a game, which gives him a nice solid floor. Jaquan Jackson has kind of been their best value wide receiver. But if I'm playing somebody from Tulane, I'm probably playing Tajay Spears. He seems like the best play. 14 rushes a game, 2.6 targets. That's what I want. I just want the usage, man. And then lastly, we have got ASU Stanford. I don't love this game. I think ASU sucks. I think they're habitually inefficient, but I will tell you, Emory Jones, Valladay, and Badger are all kind of the biggest usage guys there, so there is something to be said about that if you want to go stack a game that nobody will be on. If you want to run it back with Stanford, I think the best option is the running back Flickens, who's getting like 23 targets or 23 touches a game, which is really nice. It's just kind of what you think. If you want to play Tanner McKee and get a cheap stack with 1 or 2 of his receivers, you go ahead. I don't think that's the most viable play because what's Stanford's upside, right? All right, man, I think that's it. If you want to see the FanDuel games, I'm sorry, man. There's only so many hours in a day. I only putting that out for the Discord. If you want to come join the Discord, it's connected through my Patreon, which is in the description of this video. Here's my schedule. Don't forget to come check me out. I hope you can see behind my big head. This bottom one right down here is Saturday. So do that. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure to go like and subscribe if you like the cut of my jib. I appreciate you being here. Good luck this weekend. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. The Degenerate75. I'll talk to you later, you motherfathers.